Yeah, I'm glad you're cute.
Okay, we're ready.
I'm asking. So. It's okay. Give me 2 minutes without thinking about it. You guys ready, Diane?
Yeah, no.
Thank you. Oh.
Good job.
Are we recording?
Is that the new seating arrangement?
For today.
It can be for today.
Want to make sure I get your name flags. So
We're flexible.
Put us wherever you like.
We're
Brandon.
trying to mix that.
Good.
I mean, mixing this up.
We're ready to go.
Thank you, Brandon. Welcome to the Fruit Heights City Council meeting. My name is John Coleman, Mayor of the City of Fruit Heights. It is 7:01, and we are meeting with an anchor location at 910 South Mountain Road, Fruit Heights, Utah 4037. We are going to begin with a pledge of allegiance. It's going to be led by George Ray and a prayer that's going to be offered by Brandon Green. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Here, Brandon. You can have this, Ben.
No, he's going to go.
Our dear Father in heaven, we're grateful to be gathered together tonight in the city building as city council members, staff, and residents of Fruit Heights City. We're grateful for this community and for all the many joys and pleasures that it offers to us and our residents. Heavenly Father, at this time, we ask that please bless us as we discuss the needs within our community, that we might be mindful of those that we represent and those that we work for, that we can make wise decisions. Please bless us with thy spirit this night, that we might be able to accomplish all that we have to do. And we are grateful for all that we have and say these things in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Brandon. We're going to move on to item number 1.2, which is roll call.
Councilmember Diane Anderson.
Here.
Councilmember Gary Anderson. No. Councilmember Florence Savage.
Here.
Councilmember George Ray.
Here.
Councilmember Eileen Moss.
Here.
Mayor John Coleman.
Here, thank you. 1.3, who has that? Is that you, Eileen? Yes, so item 1.3 is city council training. Every city council meeting, we set aside 3 minutes for one of the council members to train on our responsibilities as elected officials and representing Fruit Heights. Tonight, we're going to have Eileen Moss. You've got 3 minutes, you're on the clock.
Tonight I thought I would talk a little bit about some ethics training. Typically we have the lawyer's firm do ethics training with us every year. He has a hard time covering everything, and I thought I would just go over a couple of things. A couple of things that are easy to miss, and just reminders for us. So I thought, first of all, I'll go over a couple of different things that I've done in the past. So John Doe Developer, who is calls up you and another city council member, you being the representative of the planning commission. I wasn't at the time, I was just a council member. He was the representative of the planning commission and wants to meet and go out to breakfast, and I'll pay for it. Is that ethical or not ethical?
No, depending on how much it is.
Correct. The answer is you can technically do that depending on how much your breakfast is, but should you? And in further training that we had at the League of Cities and Towns meeting, I was really newly elected at the time that happened, but in further training I became aware that probably, even though you're not going to get in trouble for it ethically, you really probably shouldn't be taking anything like that from the developer and giving them your ear that way. Another thing, I know we talked about a couple of different things last week. One of the things that is easy for us to do, and I'm not going to point fingers if I don't want to, but we need to watch this, is if something comes up and during council meeting, we want to get a message to all the other council members. Is this ethical to send a text message to all the other council members or not?
If it's in the middle of a meeting,
In the middle of the meeting?
no, you cannot. Well, your phones will become property of the city with that message on it.
That's
So
correct.
tempting.
So even if it's a correction of something that's been said or a question that we've had, the proper way to handle that is to say, hey, I just took a minute and I looked up that on the state website and the answer to it is this. And so we have to be careful that we're never sending text messages between us up here because it gives the appearance that we're colluding. And it's the same reason we don't ever talk three of us together about city functions. We are three together at a Christmas party, then our job is to discuss the weather and the delightful candy canes that I brought. and other than that, we don't discuss city business when there are more than two of us. So those are just a couple things I wanted to bring up as reminders. Another thing is to be sure that you have looked at the agenda to make sure that anything on the agenda does not affect you personally, because if it does, you have the right to vote. And what David Church used to say is, in a small community, you maybe everything affects you, and so you always have the right to vote. But you can either abstain, or if you vote, you should be sure to declare conflict not only at the beginning of the meeting, but again right before you vote. That's what I have.
3 minutes and 17 seconds. Thank you, Eileen Moss. Not that we were counting. Item number 2 is declaration of conflict of interest. Have you all had a chance to review the agenda? Are there any conflicts on this agenda? I will point out the fact that the printed agenda is different than the online agenda. The online agenda has 5.4, which is review the planning commission appointments. It is not on this printed agenda, so I apologize for that.
But it is on our agenda.
It is on our agenda tonight. It was noticed and it was sent out. Not seeing or hearing any, going to go on to item number 3.1. We have our beautiful youth city council members here. Would you mind coming up and give me a report? You have to state your name first.
Yes, I'm Bella Burt. I'm Lily Taft, and we're from the Youth City Council. We're reporting on some of the activities that have been going on and things like that. Our December activity was we did a food drive. And how many donations? Like 800, around 800 donations.
Yeah.
We got. So that was super good.
Awesome.
We're trying to plan a New Year's party with the case.
Could you speak up or bring the microphone down a little bit?
We're trying to make a New Year's party with the Kaysville Youth City Council.
Fun. That's awesome. What are your plans this next month and this next quarter?
They're all unofficial. So we're trying to work on, we're trying to do a jail tour, but we haven't,
That's on my plate.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
A day of what?
A jail tour.
Or jail?
And then, let's see, we might be working on a blood drive.
Okay. Did you go to the night on, or the day at the Capitol?
That's tomorrow.
That's tomorrow morning.
That's tomorrow morning.
I think you're going to.
Yeah,
we're both
I'm
going.
going.
Excellent. And then the Utah State deal.
I don't know.
Oh, we learned about that. It's
Still.
when is it? In March, I think.
Great.
We're sad.
I would recommend going if you can. It's
Yeah,
actually-
we're all like, we're still
We're
discussing.
so
So
excited.
don't,
And I'll just throw out the fact that it is a wonderful experience to get to know people. And if there's anything you guys need, please let us know, because you've got city council members that totally support everything you guys are doing. And we want to make sure you guys are successful in your endeavors.
And they did ask, the blood drive was held here last year in March. With the current state of the building, they weren't sure if that would be done by then. Would it be safe to say the building won't be ready by March, Brandon, or would they?
The upstairs might be, but the downstairs might not be ready until next December.
Next December.
Please You could do a blood drive here.
We could do it in here. If we'll plan on doing it in here, I'll make sure it's available.
We were planning on doing it at a church.
Okay.
Well,
But if you want to do it here, it's available.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
thank you.
Brandon, I'm gonna turn the heat up for you.
Item number 3.2. We have a report from Tina Lependu.
Do you want me to go?
If you would please, yes. So can I talk before you talk, Tina?
Okay, wait a minute. So, whoops, that's not how that works. Okay, can you hear me? No. It's kind of scary talking into one of these. I would just like to say good evening, Mayor Poldman and City Council. It's been quite a while since you've seen me, I know, and I do have to apologize for that. However, this is probably the last time you'll see me. So I can give you a very quick rundown of what I've been up to for the last 27 years. Actually, the interesting thing is that while I was in the City Council, and that was 25 years ago, was the first time that we instituted a youth city council. This was completely new to me. I'm not sure I always did exactly what was supposed to happen, but I'm awfully happy to see that you guys are still around and becoming involved in government in a very early age. Anyway, next thing I want to do is I want to thank you for the opportunity I've had to serve as the Fruit Heights representative on the Mosquito Abatement Board, Davis. We are not part of Davis County itself. We are an independent institution that independently taxes. And so, yeah, we had to raise the taxes a little bit again. Unfortunately, the prices, as everybody who is in government or business or anything, or just living and going to Smith's and trying to buy eggs, prices go up. And so we unfortunately had to do that. But I would recommend or say that the board in general is very frugal and keeps very tight reins on what the manager does, and he has done an excellent job in my opinion. I have learned an awful lot in these past years and seen many changes. You know, everybody's always a bit concerned when they hear about pesticides being sprayed. And yeah, after we all learned about how detrimental a whole bunch of DDT can be, sure, it killed what we wanted it to kill, but in addition to that, it killed a whole bunch of other things as well, which was not very good. With the great oversight from environmentally based government entities like the EPA, there's much tighter control, and it's actually very, very difficult to get a new pesticides go through all the test processes to be able to be approved for use as in mosquito abatement or any other thing for that matter. So I don't have the exact numbers, but if you knew how very little pesticide it takes to spray like 100 acres or something, you would be totally amazed because it's very, very small. And we don't just randomly go spray. I'm saying we because I'm used to doing that, but they. You have to find out, you decide, okay, what are you going to spray? The best thing to spray are larvae, because the larvae don't hatch and the larvae don't bite, but the mosquitoes do. So if you can kill the larvae, if you could kill all of them, you've solved your whole problem. However, You don't always find all of them. Some places are very difficult to access. And sometimes because of weather changes, abnormalities, whatever, they hatch sooner than you think they're going to. However, in particularly, the larval pesticides that are used are extremely mosquito specific. It's a bacterium, and they were developed in Israel, actually. And so that is the major focus of control, if we can do that. So now people used to, and they still do, they go out and dip and they see how many larvae in their little scoop of stuff. And depending upon the number or whatever, they would recommend spraying. We used to have a guy that flew the airplane that we said, oh, this is where the larvae are, you need to go spray in this area. Now, you can go to the airplane, you can plug in the coordinates of the area that contains those larvae, and the plane will fly a very exact swath back and forth over that area, turn the pesticide on when he's going over it and turn it off when he's done. Not only does that save a lot of money by not wasting any pesticides, but you have a much more accurate kill rate of the larvae, because then you go back afterwards and test the water again, and you go, yes, that has been a successful killing of the larvae. Anyway, so there are also other areas besides along the Great Salt Lake where we do most of the larval killing, like tree holes where mosquitoes breed, and the tree hole mosquito specifically causes dog heartworm disease. And that used to be a lot more prevalent and has basically been eradicated because of those tree hole treatments. There are also mosquitoes, it was found, that like to breed in storm drains. And so 3 times during the mosquito season, there are young people on bicycles who go around and drop a long-lasting pellet down each storm drain hole entrance cover in the whole of Davis County. Those mosquito, Culex pipiens, are the carriers, also can be the carriers of West Nile virus. So why do we kill mosquitoes in the first place? Yes, because they're a nuisance and fly swatters won't do it. But it is because they carry diseases, and particularly since West Nile virus, the concern and the more concerted effort to make sure that we kill particularly the majority of those mosquitoes that cause it, is obviously on the forefront. The other change that has occurred with the operations of the mosquito abatement people is that we used to have to send our collections of mosquitoes that are gathered in, they're traps. We set out, I think it's about 15 traps in specific locations throughout the county to gather mosquitoes. Then the seasonal employees, they go through all these mosquitoes, they count them all, and they speciate them according to species. And then they put them in little vials, over 100 mosquitoes each, and they get sent to the lab. Used to be we had to send them to the Davis County Health Department lab. And then a couple of days later, you would get results. And then if you had found West Nile from the location, the exact locations are obviously written down and tabulated. Then you would go back and try to kill the larvae in that area. However, that's several days later. Now the board has its own lab and an in-house biologist who does the testing every time they come in. I think she did over like 3,000 something or other. I mean, some huge number of tests, but we have the results the following day. And so there's a much faster response and a better ability to eradicate these mosquitoes. When you do have to do an aerial spraying, then all those kind of areas and stipulations and where you can go and where you can't go, and you never can fly over residential areas, that's all very highly regulated. They don't just randomly come by and go spray. So there are also fish ponds. For any of you who have one, you would know that people come around every year and provide little gambusia fish. They're about that big for your fish pond, and their favorite food is mosquito larvae. So that's a good way to kill them and, eradicate them. The kinds of diseases that are prevalent in this general area are West Nile, of course, Western equine encephalitis, and Eastern equine encephalitis. I think last year there was one case of Western equine encephalitis, but we don't see very much of that anymore. This past year, there were 25 positive pools of mosquito, a pool being a sample set that is lab tested, and only 5 human cases. Nationwide, it was actually kind of a fairly low number too, with 79 deaths throughout the whole of the United States for West Nile virus. So the biggest change that has happened most recently is the use of drones. I hope I'm not droning on. Anyway, drones are this phenomenal thing where you can go into very difficult to access areas. Some of them have cameras that they can go hover all way down low, and they can actually take pictures of the larvae. We don't have one that fancy yet. Then there are others that can scoop up water, like has always been done, except it's a drone and it doesn't have to slosh through a whole bunch of mud and weed and whatnot to get there. And then the most important thing is that you can spray or drop larval pesticide in an extremely specific area. So that has become way more sophisticated in many ways, particularly with small areas. It'll overtake having to use an airplane, which in the long run will be a lot cheaper and a lot more specific and hopefully a lot more effective. Anyway, I think I've given you enough of an overrun. And again, I'd like to thank you for having had both the honor and the privilege to be on the board and do whatever I could for City of Fruit Heights and Davis County as a whole.
Tina, Thank you so much. And as the,
If you have a question, I'd be happy to try and answer it.
we really would just like to thank you as the city council and as the staff. We thank you for your 27 years of service. And I'd like to thank you with a lovely plant.
Oh, tulips, my favorite from Holland. You know, I'm from Holland.
Let some of your fish in that too. Mosquito larvae.
Tina, thank you so much for your service. It's going to be hard to fill your shoes, and we appreciate all you've done as representing the city of Fruit Heights with the Davis Mosquito Abatement Board. We really do appreciate it. We are going to move on to item number 4, which is a public comment period. This is a time we set aside from our for residents to present something to City Council. These action items, they are not acted upon, and we ask that you keep it to 3 minutes. Would anyone like to present anything this evening?
I just have a question as it relates to mosquito abatement.
Yes.
I contacted UDOT last year in regards to the 2 holding ponds over on.
The mosquito ponds?
Yeah. Regarding mosquito issues, because they're full of mosquitoes. UDOT never responded. Who would we reach out to?
Mosquito issues. You need to go to the mosquito abatement.
I reached out to them also, heard nothing.
So,
You didn't talk about.
so I will tell you that personally, the mosquito abatement group is fantastic. If you have an issue, even if you have an outdoor wedding, they have been very responsive. Bring it up to the city. Let us know if you're having issues. But those ponds are definitely on our radar, and we don't want mosquitoes in those any longer. They will be draining here in the next 4 years. Okay, not seeing or hearing any public comment, we're going to move on to item number. Any further public comment? We're going to move on to item number 5.1, which is review, discuss, approve, deny the ordinance 2023-001, which is amending the official zoning map of Fruit Heights City.
Okay, we've been working for a few months now on a new development project on the Barker property here in the north end of the city. And we're at the stage where we're ready for a rezone of that property. And so what is before the council tonight is an ordinance that would amend the city's zoning map. And the proposal is for 25.96 acres that would go from A1, it's currently A1 to R112. The purpose of the rezone is to develop that property. There is still some work going on with regards to the subdivision, with lot layout and areas that can and can't be developed that are either over or under the 30% hillside slopes that can't be developed. So we think we're fairly close, but there could still be a few changes to the number of lots that are to be developed, which also might affect some of the roads, how they're laid out. But we are comfortable that the property can be developed in some fashion and that the rezone is appropriate. This was before the Planning Commission and a public hearing was held. I don't believe there was any comments at the public hearing. It's been a couple of months ago now. But there was a recommendation from the Planning Commission to rezone the property. I just wanted to make one comment and make sure that the council was aware of it. And that is that there's every intention of the property owner, we're rezoning all of their property. Some of this property will not end up in the subdivision, and the family will retain a little bit of property for themselves, and they would like to utilize that property for animal keeping regulations, which is not allowed in the R112. So when the dust settles and we know exactly what lots layouts are gonna be, there'll likely be a request to rezone some of this property back to A1 to give them that animal keeping right. And so I just want to make sure that you're aware of that. And if you see that happen, you don't say, why don't you guys figure this out in the beginning?
So that's actually a really good point. Why don't we figure that out? Why are we trying to rezone the whole area in one fell swoop? And why aren't we being more deliberate about the rezoning?
I think that's probably best to let the family or the developer speak to that.
Yeah, I'd be happy to speak to that.
Yeah, why don't you just come up with the, state your name.
Sure. I'm Spencer Moffett with the Boyer Company. I'm working with the Barker family on the development of the property. It's a great question. The short answer to the question is, as Jeff had alluded to, we're still working through some issues with grades and making sure that the lot layout conforms with the city ordinance as it relates to those grades, road steepness, all sorts of other issues. We'll obviously address those at the preliminary plat, but at the rezone phase, we don't have a plan that definitively outlines the development. And in doing that, without a definitive plan, we don't know exactly what the agricultural alignment would look like. So I can't give Jeff a legal description for the piece to remain agricultural. If I give him something, it's going to change, when we go to a preliminary and a final plat. So it really is just a function of nailing down the layout of the subdivision in that preliminary and final plat process. We do know, however, that the family would like to keep, it will be between 1 to 2 acres, depending how the property lays out. So we had just asked Jeff to include that language, so it's no surprise to anybody. So that's not really a short answer, but hopefully it's sufficient.
I think that makes sense, but I still question the fact why we're rezoning it when we're not ready. Because you're not waiting on a rezoning from us to continue forward.
Yeah, we are waiting on the rezone. We don't want to go spend money on preliminary plat, on the final plat, and all the engineering until the rezone is done. My understanding in talking to Jeff and to Brandon is that it's a linear, like most cities, you go rezone. Once you get the rezone, then you go to preliminary plat, and then you go to final plat. So we don't want to get the cart ahead of the horse on this. We want to make sure that the rezone is in place, it's developable. And to be quite honest with you, we never really do a layout of a subdivision until we have the rezone in hand. And then we go on to the concept planning and the development. In this case, we just provided an illustration to the city to show that it was in fact developable. And so we went a little bit prematurely, but we wanted to evaluate it, and for the family and for our sake, make sure that there was, development potential on the property.
Go ahead. Yes.
So the map we got is Old Growth layout for the 89 Green Model. What discussion has been had with the planning commission about how that grows and that new intersection is now?
So let me just say, don't get hung up on what that looks like, because that's just to give you an idea, like he just said, of how it could potentially be developed. We have not seen anything as far as a preliminary plat. So when we get to that stage, when we can review the road layout, we will be looking at how it ties in.
I'm with you completely, but has there been a discussion about the planning level to say this is going to be, at least for me as a citizen, I got that spot. That's a huge deal for me. We're going to put a road coming out 200 feet or so off that I-89. And if that forces you to put that road somewhere else, is that going to change the whole scope?
Yeah, I mean,
not.
Yeah, there's a couple of challenges there. The grade being probably the most prominent among those. I mean, as you all know, it climbs really quickly. And then there's the alignment of the intersection. So we really kind of have those two things working against us. We have done a topographical survey of the site. We know grades. We think we can get a road up there, but I can assure you it's not going to be a straight road going right up into the site. It's going to have some curvature to it to get in there. And as Brandon alluded to, what you see there was before we had done any topographical work. We just kind of laid something down to show what the lot count would look like under the R112. We've engaged an engineer. We've had some productive meetings with the city to talk about that. The offsets are going to be very important. Also, just the appearance of the road going into the property, make sure that it isn't we don't create a great wall, so to speak, on that mountain, on the frontage road, or at the same time, we don't have a road that's too steep and vehicles can't get up and in there, because that will be, we only have limited frontage, so likely one access on that mountain road point of access.
And in those conversations with engineers, are you feeling that is the spot where that road has
It's going to have to be on the south side of the property. There's no way to get a road up on the north side of the property because of the grade differential. So it'll have to be in that area of the existing driveway that they've utilized for all that time. And I believe when they negotiated with UDOT, the family did negotiate an access road there to their property. So, I know that the city, I think, will, if they don't already own Mountain Road, they will take that over. So they would control access. But my concern was if it's a UDOT road, they control access. So that's problematic. They are very, as you know, very restrictive on where you can come on and off of their roads. So
that access that goes up past the old Barker home is the access that UDOT has approved. That was developed with the idea that at someday the Barker property would be developed. And UDOT is aware of it, but yeah.
And I'll have to go back to those minutes, but it felt like in that conversation before, there was this two properties that access was approved for, wasn't it?
No, it's just one property, just the Barker property.
But just along that.
The whole thing.
What, the whole thing, the whole conversation was about,
The whole thing.
I'll go back to the minutes.
They reserved that.
So, as a city, I know that we're looking to rezone this to R112. Is there any chance you would want any more higher density within that area?
Being completely transparent with you as a developer, I love density. I think it's needed. But in my conversations with the Barker family, they have had some specific requests as to what they would like to see on their property. As you know, many family members live around the property. So out of respect to the family and what I've told them I'd be willing to do, and the basis on which they selected us as the developer, I would say the R112 is what we would like to proceed with in our application.
So I know there's a whole big section, open space parcel B.
That's correct.
Is that also included in this R112 property?
It is, yes.
And is there any chance of further development, or is that all just really steep?
As we have, Jeff and Brandon have alluded to, there's some grade issues up there that will prohibit development on that. It's some steep property, but rather than, arm wrestling now over, okay, what's going to stay open space, what's going to be R112, we elected to rezone the entire property. And then, as we go through those design steps, we'll determine what is not developable, but we anticipate that there will be a significant amount of open space.
And will that be in an HOA then?
We've talked about putting it in the HOA, correct. That will be for the benefit, and I don't know if you'd call it a benefit, but the homeowners would be able to, cover the maintenance of that. We've also talked about city trails, county trails through there, which we're open to. I think that would be a great amenity. So we're definitely open to those conversations.
So if you tie it up to the mountain, there would be
Yeah.
something you're willing to.
And I think that would be not only an amenity for the residents here, but also for the whole city. I think trails are very important. So we're an advocate for that.
Can I ask the question?
Yes, please, so.
Okay, and I actually think here we're trying to do moderate housing income report, and to see 1 acre lots, isn't that?
They're 12,000 square foot lots minimum, quarter of an acre.
Quarter.
Yes.
Because most of Fruit Heights is partial acre lots, and so I would hope that that's what it would be as well.
Yeah.
Um,
So there'll be a quarter, I think under the zone, quarter to third acre lots. So
Okay. And then that spot where you say you can't develop there, what did you call it? It's,
Open space, parcel B.
in reading our city plan, I noticed that they suggested that we have another city park up in that area. Is there any way that could be a park?
I believe that the Barker family would like to keep that for their own use. They have had animals on the property and would like to continue to have animals, so that will be privately owned by them. We would be open to the open space that is potentially the HOA, or, you know, we could talk to the city about doing some sort of trailhead or something up in there, but I can't speak for the family. I think they would like to maintain ownership of that open space parcel for their private use.
Senator throwing animals at you.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if I can answer it, but I'll attempt it.
Is there a possibility of potentially doing a private public partnership on a portion of that property that's parcel B, and potentially putting a city water tank, submerged water tanker, something like that on that property?
So just to make sure that I'm clear, parcel B would be the upper parcel, not the lower parcel. We are always open to conversations with municipalities as to how we can better their infrastructure. When you say public-private, my understanding is that the infrastructure is in place that we would need to develop this site, but if the city would need additional infrastructure for their water needs, we could look at providing the land. I want to be clear, I don't think we would go pay for the tank, but if it's some sort of, you know, contribution of land or some partnership that way, we're certainly open to that.
Yes.
A few years ago, Hates Creek Irrigation, with our permission, did some testing there, right below the cliffs. So it was kind of between the aqueduct and the cliffs. And to see if a small reservoir would maybe be appropriate there. And they determined that it was not, so you certainly could check with them.
So our intent would not be a reservoir. Our ultimate desire would be up on 1800 East, we have a water tank that services the whole city. In order to do a secondary one, it has to be on the same elevation plane. And that upper
That would be
property,
the same elevation.
that upper property is very close to the same elevation. And you know, there's a lot of discussions, and we don't have to have these discussions in an open meeting, but
Yeah, I think we're open to it. You know, there's obviously some concerns with the aesthetics as it relates to surrounding development, but we have had tanks in developments before. We've had other instances where it didn't make sense, but we're open to discussing that, I guess, is probably the best answer.
Okay, I just asked Eileen a question because she knows a lot about zoning. If the people want animals, why is it not being zoned? Is there not a request for RS? Well,
Because with 12,000 square foot lots, our experience is that animals and 12,000 square foot lots do not work well together. That creates contention in neighborhoods. Those are just too small. And so for the purposes of our future homeowners in the subdivision, we do not want animal rights. I think that will avoid a lot of inconsistencies and disagreements in the neighborhood, but the family, you know, who has an acre, 1 to 2 acres, would like to keep those animal rights. And we think that's plenty of space, you know, for them to have their animals, but we would elect not to have that. There were half acre lots, it would be a lot easier. I think that's manageable, but those lots are too small.
great. Any further questions? This is an ordinance, this is roll call, right?
It is.
So I would like to make a motion that we approve ordinance number 2023-001, and ordinance amending the official zoning map of Fruit Heights City.
So I have a motion on the table from Eileen. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a second from Diane. Any further discussion?
Just, can I?
Yes, please.
Can I ask Eileen to just state the number of acres?
Where does it say? Oh,
20.
rezoning 25.96 acres from A1 to R112.
Great. So I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Do you agree with that?
I agree with that.
Brandon, go ahead.
Councilmember Diane Anderson.
Yay.
Councilmember Gary Anderson is absent. Councilmember Florence Sadler.
Aye.
Councilmember George Ray.
Aye.
Councilmember Eileen Moss.
Aye.
It's unanimous.
Thank you. Thank you. Moving on to item number 5.2, which is review, discuss, approve, deny the property trade between Fruit Heights City and Hayes Creek Irrigation. Brandon, you gonna roll with this one?
Yeah, I'm gonna roll with this one. Put into the Teams folder some maps. If you would go to the very last map, it shows both parcels of ground. It shows the reservoir, the parcel of ground that Hayes Creek owns in blue, and the parcel of ground that Fruit Heights City owns in green. We would be taking the blue parcel and incorporating it into the city right away for the crossing across Bear Creek. And we would be trading that exact same acreage for the property that's in green, where the where the Hayes Creek diversion comes out of Bear Creek. That is currently on Fruit Heights City property. I don't have any interest in owning a diversion, and I don't have any interest in maintaining a diversion. So it makes sense that that become Hayes Creek's responsibility to own and maintain. But I do have interest in owning and maintaining a road right of way. And that's what Hayes Creek owns. So the proposal is to trade or swap acreage for acreage, like ground for like ground. Hayes Creek has discussed this in their board meeting. Unfortunately, the last week's board meeting, they did not have a quorum and they were not able to vote on it. But seems to think the board president seems to think that he's got support for approval to do that. And I am just presenting this to the council and asking if you have any concerns or questions regarding our swapping. I think it's 0.73 acres per 0.73 acres.
Great. Thank you for presenting, Brandon.
Yes.
Any further questions on this?
Why is it so weird, that shape?
The reason that the shape of ours is so weird is because we've got some cut and fills and we're going to be disturbing down along the creek, and we want Davis County to be able to maintain the outflow at the bottom of the crossing so that they can get down there. So we took what we believe the area of disturbance is going to be for the road and took all of that and brought it into the city so that we have ability to go in and maintain it. And we don't have to go ask Hayes Creek if we can go across their property to get to ours. So that's, but what's interesting is they will have to go across, our property to get to their diversion, but that's typical because that's a road right away. So, yeah. But they will have an easement. Now the easements aren't on there. This is just you'll see a different document that shows the easements when that comes. But this is just swapping the property. And then when we come back to you with the development plan for the road, there will be some trail easements and some water line easements and all of that. So don't get hung up on the easements. We're just trading ground. That's all we're doing.
So there's a little triangle at the end of East Oaks there that doesn't seem to be involved in, is that because we already own that?
We own that, yeah. We own to where Hayes Creek owns to.
Okay.
Now, one thing that you'll see is those lines don't quite meet up. When we go to record the plat, we'll make sure that everything lines up. It's just the difference between old surveys and new surveys. We have some gaps and some overlaps, and we'll get that all corrected with the recording of the plat.
Thank you, Brandon. With that presentation, I would entertain a motion.
I move to approve the property trade between Fruit Heights City and Hayes Creek Irrigation.
So I have a motion from George Ray. Do I have a second?
I second it.
Second from Flo. Any further discussion on this motion? All in favor of approving the cooperative trade between Fruit Heights City and Peach Creek Irrigation as it's been presented to us. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Item number 5.3, which is review, discuss, approve, deny the Lincoln Hill Consulting Agreement. This agreement is in your folder. It's been one that I met with Lincoln and Casey and Brandon last week to discuss the plans that they have going forward. Just as a point of reference, in 1 year's worth of work, they have brought in over $1 million. And according to our conversation, it will be quite a bit more. Hopefully we can get that other grant that we've been looking for. In our conversations, it looks like that we have there's a lot of money in the state for trails, trailheads, active transportation, so we're gonna put together some plans. And water projects. There's a pretty big push statewide to do water projects, so the possibility of potentially doing a water tower, water tank, something along those lines, which would be, $2 million plus is something that we're trying to push through. I personally, I think you put $1 into something and get 600 back is pretty powerful at this point in time. So I would encourage that we entertain this to do at least 1 more year and see how this goes and see how it goes without having specific concrete discussion or direction for them.
Where are we pulling those fees from?
Fees are coming from consulting.
Professional and technical consulting.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we approve a consulting agreement with Lincoln Hill. The amount of money that they've brought into our city, as you said, compared to how much they charge, has been absolutely.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to cut off the motion there, but can we have just a little more discussion on that? Do they provide us with an annual type of report of what they've done?
Not necessarily, they provide us with results.
And where's that written down for the community, for the public? I want and I would love more transparency to it so we can see, so we can report it back to the citizens and say, this was spent here and this is what it was.
That's probably something that I haven't done a very good job with. A lot of the work and a lot of the accountability has been for city manager. I've been involved in meetings and in discussions, but I haven't necessarily done a very good job of reporting back as to we spent $60,000 for hiring a consultant to get us some grants. And with that consultant, we got $1.5 million in grants.
And that's super awesome. And I think as his fiduciary responsibility, I think that he should provide. And for the rest of us, I don't see why I couldn't say this was my efforts this year.
Correct.
And
And
then
kind
come
of
on.
a description of the actual grant.
Right.
We reported it, but I think, I agree with you, George, and I think we just need to have that.
But I don't want those bunch working on Brandon to have to write up every conversation they have. I'd love to have.
It's not gonna be that big of a deal to ask Lincoln to provide us with a snippet of what he's been working on, where that money that we invested with him is going towards.
Yeah, that'd be-
I can tell you right now, it will be going towards the grants that he will help us achieve. But I don't have a problem talking with, have that conversation with Lincoln Hill.
And it wouldn't be bad maybe to follow up, to have like a progress report on how things are going, what he's going after, if that's appropriate.
I think it'd be better coming from the city manager. We've been in discussion with him probably twice, maybe 3 times a month, especially during legislative session. There's a report that Brandon needs to get to him that he's trying to get to him before the end of the week. Projects that we would like to see work on throughout this whole legislative session.
It's
So-
also so that we can cheer at the results, because that is, like you say, pretty amazing, Eileen.
Last week we talked about this action item list. This is kind of one of those things I would like to see, hope to see on there, that we would see that Lincoln Hill report show up somewhere. Because we'll be even offered it. So that's something I want help to improve my ability here. Is to say we're Lincoln Hill, we're gonna get a report from.
Could he come to?
He could, but it probably, oh yeah, yeah,
Once the legislative session starts, he won't be coming to anything, because he'll be down at the Hill,
but this summer,
working for us to get some grants. But after the legislative session,
it's 45 days. After that, we can invite him to come in and he can kind of report what he did and where he was at.
And we keep saying him, is that Casey Hill or Lincoln, whatever his name
Lincoln
is?
Shirts.
Lincoln Shirts. So which one do we work with?
Both.
Both of them. So when we say him, there's two hims. That's how we move out from this process. is We want to know that there's two hims.
Either one of them could represent their firm, that's what
For sure.
we're signing an agreement with the firm. Kind of point of order, Mayor, when we have a motion, we should second it and then have discussion.
Well, it is a question, but we're gonna go back to that motion. I have a motion on the table to approve the Lincoln Hill Consulting Agreement. Do I have a second?
I second that.
I have a second from George Ray. Any further discussion or comments about this motion?
So just to clarify, I'm not super quick here. Brandon, you are going to provide some type of, or ask him to provide some type of list of what he's working on so that we can report that back to the
I
council.
actually provide him the list with what I want him to work on, and then he reports back to me what he is working on. So,
And then you can write that up and then report back to us so that we're more aware of and have transparency back to us / the citizens of that money. That would be super.
Excellent. Any further comments? Okay, so I have a motion on the table to approve the Lincoln Hill Consulting Agreement. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 5.4, which is not on the printed, but is on the online and posted agenda, is to recommendation for the planning commission appointments. We had a handful of applications come in. I have had a lengthy discussion with Brandon, with Carrie Carroll, who is the chair of the planning commission, and we would like to present the names of Justin Wright to represent the northwest quadrant, so north of Bear Canyon, west of 89. And then also we have a application from Clark Moss, which happens to be a spouse of one of our city council members, which would represent the northeast quadrant, so north of Bear Canyon, east of 89.
Does that mean I have a conflict of interest that I didn't declare?
You have one on this motion, yes. But this is not really, this is asking for your approval and your support in these two motions.
I better
And these-
support it. You have a
In
role.
these appointments. They are appointments, they can get appointed without 100% support, but I just want to make you aware of that transparency,
Support and consent.
support and consent on these two individuals. And so I would ask for your support on these two. We have,
Shall I say that? Can we, that we support and approve? Just ask that question before.
yes,
Justin Wright is the developer, correct?
no,
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 that's Colin Wright.
that's Colin Wright, okay.
Justin Wright used to live right next to Gary Fox.
Oh, up there, and he's moved.
He sold his house there, built a home right on the backside of Burton Elementary.
Okay.
He remodeled that.
we just bought an existing, one, we didn't build it.
Okay. Should I continue?
Yes.
That was my question.
I move that we support and approve the recommendations of Clark Moss and Justin Wright to serve on the planning commission.
So
And when does that take place? Immediately?
immediately, they will be at.
To take place immediately.
They will hopefully be at next Tuesday's meeting.
I'll second it.
Excellent. Thank you, Flo. All in favor, say, all in favor supporting, Clark Moss and Justin Wright, say aye.
I
Any opposed? It's unanimous. I'm gonna ask for your help for a second. I'm going off cuff. There's something that came up that did not make the agenda, and I will take responsibility for that. I am going to present some information on a grant or on a water project that has gone through the, do you have printouts of this, Brandon?
Sorry, what?
you can pass it down.
Oh, yeah, I have more copies.
So what happened is we were awarded a grant for water meters on our East Bench Water District. Jones and Associates has gone out to bid with that. They got 6 bids back, and have made a recommendation to move forward with one of them. I'm not asking for your recommendation to approve it at this point because it's not on the agenda, but I am asking for your support so that we can give verbal commitment to them so they can make an order on the product before our next city council meeting. that makes sense.
No. So what they're trying to do is they want to order the meters and stuff in. So we call a process company, we'll call it a company, saying, people are gonna go with you, you wanna go in and order 25 meters.
So there is a letter of recommendation from Jones Associates. They are recommending we go with the lowest bid, which is Onco. This is the same firm that we use in Ellison Farms. They have worked very, very well with the city. They're the low bid. I'm not asking for your support, but I'm asking for a straw poll. If you would support this at our next city council meeting, when we have more data, that way the public works can move forward and let them know that we're pretty sure we're gonna be going forward with that. Does that make sense?
Because we need them, right?
I would ask if you have any concerns, please let me know.
If you have any concerns with Comcom,
Yeah, before the next meeting, but, if we don't get into this little window to order some meters and some barrels, we aren't gonna start the project until fall, because they're that far out right now. We can't start it in the summertime because you can't shut them. We can shut their water off, but.
I won't be happy. Yeah, as long as it's not the firm that's redoing Mountain Road, I think we're probably good. I'm good with Comcom.
Yeah, so they came in a little bit. I'm taking a leap on this one with just presenting this information, trying to push this, get some support from council, but not asking for a vote. Do any of you have any concerns with having Public Works move forward on this, but not asking for a vote at this time?
Can I ask Darren's opinion?
Yeah, I think Comco is a great company to be working with. They've done a lot of work in the city, very reliable. And I've talked to the owner a couple times. And I Jones and Associates has, it's just the nature of the game nowadays.
And it's something
10 years
that,
ago, we had just said, yeah, go ahead and get everything ordered. We'll be going on in a month and get it done. Right now, it's so hard to get parts. Actually, I've already ordered meters for this project. And once we got awarded the grant in August, I called immediately to order the meters. And I still have no idea what the meter does. So
thank you.
that's how the parts are for this project are, is because of the requirement from the state. Everybody's trying to fulfill this grant and get everything done. So
we don't have meters yet,
I do not have meters yet.
and so we don't know where we're gonna install it, but we're just trying to get on their schedule, is that what it is?
Well, there's still a lot of other parts besides the meters, all the setters, all the connections, all those kind of things that still have to be purchased. And I didn't buy it. I just did the meters because I needed to match my system that I already have. And so I ordered them immediately. So I knew the delay on meters right now. So I already ordered those.
So still could be this fall.
Hopefully not.
Hopefully not. I mean,
Okay, cool. No.
we have some other options that I'm looking at too, so, but it's just getting the rest of the parts on order and saying, yes, we're taking the parts.
Perfect. Cool.
Okay, so I think that will be a follow-up and action on the next one, but just kind of giving a heads up that you will see that one. If you have any issues, please bring them up.
Please let me know.
With that, we're gonna go on to item number 6.1, 6.2, 6.3, 6.4, 6.5, and 6.6. We have been pretty far behind on our minutes. Thanks to our wonderful, beautiful reporter, she has caught us up. Thank you very much for your help. We really do appreciate all you've done. That was a pretty big ask to get all those put together. I had a chance to review them. I actually saw most everyone here review that.
And we made some
And
corrections.
all made small corrections, but I thought you did a fantastic job.
There were some names out there that I think were just incredibly hard to understand on the microphone. So they're.
You did a great job.
Thank you.
So we need to go through these individually. We can't pass them all at once. So
I move that we approve the minutes of August 16th, 2022. August 2nd.
nope, August 16th.
Well,
Do the first one on this list.
August 16th.
It's right here on the minutes, it says August 12th, 2nd, that I just pulled up.
August 2nd is the second from the bottom.
Not on this.
Online.
Right, it is, okay.
Which do you want to do?
Let's do the online, let's do the
Just
one,
thought we could just do them in chronological, but not, let's,
August 16th.
You want to do August 16th?
when I press August 16th, the minutes that come up say August 2nd. Those are the ones that I read. Oh, now it doesn't, oh, magic.
Your computer like glitch.
Evidently. All right, I move that we approve the minutes of August 16th, 2022.
Thanks for that official, actually wrote your name already down. Go ahead, so I have a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second from Flo, all in favor of approving these minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Look for a motion for September 6th.
I make a motion that we accept the minutes as written of September 6th, 2022.
Thank you, Flo, do I have a second?
Second.
Second from George. All in favor of approving the minutes from September 6th, 2022, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. I would entertain a motion for October 4th.
I move that we approve the minutes of October 4th, 2022.
Thank you, George. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second from Flo. All in favor of approving the minutes from October 4th, 2022, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to October 18th.
I move that we approve the minutes of October 18th, 2022.
Motion from Diane. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from George. All in favor of approving the minutes from October 18th, 2022, say aye.
Aye.
Moving on, November 1st. I have a motion to approve the minutes of November 1st.
I move that we approve the minutes of November 21st, 2000, November 1st, 2022.
I have a motion from Flo. Do I have a
A
second?
second.
Second from Diane. All in favor of approving the minutes of November 1st, 2022, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
I move to approve the minutes of December 6th, 2022.
I have a motion from George. Do I have a second? No, sorry.
It's fine, you're right.
Second from Eileen. All in favor of approving the minutes from December 6th, 2022, say aye.
Aye. Now August 2nd.
August 2nd is, it's not on the paper, but it is online.
August 2nd.
I wasn't crazy, thank you, everyone.
I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes from August 2nd, 2022.
I will move again.
I have a motion.
Approve the minutes of August 2nd.
Motion from Diane,
2022.
a second from Eileen. All in favor of approving the minutes from August 2nd, 2022, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to item number 7.1 and 7.2. George Ray.
I'm sorry. I have not had a chance to meet with, Brandon to go over the check register. I'm already letting down.
No, you haven't let us down. When there's a date on there for January check register, then we will approve it. This is just a placeholder. You have nothing to approve yet because we're not through January. Does that make sense?
Yes, I'm sorry. I should have taken that off when I saw that. I'm sorry, you're right.
Yeah.
My fault.
This is just a placeholder. When we get through January, then you'll see check register and budget report for January.
But we haven't
We've already done
done
December.
We have not done December. We'll do them both at the same time. December we didn't do because we had a party in December and then we didn't meet at all, so.
I have sent a message to my colleagues, Ivan and Brandon, so when they're available, I will meet with them and get up to speed on the check register.
Great. So we're going to move on to staff reports. City council reports. Do you have anything to report, George Ray?
Not that I'm aware of at the moment.
Okay.
Tomorrow, YCC, and I'm not sure if Diane can report on this, but they're gonna go to the Capitol visit tomorrow. Legislature on the Hill.
That's actually a fun event. That's fun.
Nice.
Thank you, George Ray. Diane, do you have anything to report?
I'll do the next council training unit. I'll assign myself. And I will be attending this legislation with the UC.
Great. Eileen,
Nothing yet.
Flo,
Nothing yet.
Brandon. Actually, let's go to Jeff Euler first. He's the most long-winded of the group.
And I have nothing tonight.
Nothing.
He said with a smile.
Jeff Euler, I need you to know that I love teasing you because I actually really appreciate you. You're a good guy.
All right,
You still owe me dinner.
I know that. You owe me $49 then.
Or I'll just hold that over your head from the outside. Darren, can you give us a report on UDOT and anything else that you have going on in Public Works?
You guys moving really slow right now just because of the weather. Doing a little bit of concrete poured here and there, but pretty slow. It'll pick up as soon as it dries. And then we as the Public Works Department, just get everything done we can outside.
So, Darren, after you had a water break at the end of our last meeting,
Yes.
I got comment on Facebook, someone in that area was complaining about having no previous notification that their water is going to be off. And I just said, I think you got a water break over there and it's been turned off. And then the next morning I talked to Brent and he's like, yeah, you finished about what was it, 2:30 or 3:30 in the morning. Well, I think I put 3:30.
Yeah, we got done at 5 and.
Started plowing.
Anyway, I made sure and put that on Facebook as well, that you have been working through the night, to make sure that they.
Thank you, yes.
And thank you for doing that.
I think, and this is a complaint we get regularly, that we don't notify people when the water's gonna be shut off.
Oh,
When it's a water break, we have to shut the water off. We don't go around and
No, no.
it just happens. So just so you're aware.
And that's why I made a point
Thank you.
to know what it was and how long it took you in the crappy weather.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eileen.
I just found out that my microphone's been off all night. Sorry.
We've been able to hear you, so you're good.
I'm extremely loud and obnoxious, aren't I?
No comment.
Darren, would you like to report anything else? Thank you for all you're doing. The roads, I have received so many compliments about plowing the roads. Your team is doing fantastic. I don't know how to thank you in any other way than publicly right now, because you and your team are doing an incredible job. Keep it up.
Yeah. Can I just ask Darren about the Green Road access? I understand that people are using that now. When do they think that it'll be legal to?
So they're just trying to finish up there's just some more sidewalk right there. They did finish up and put in a couple poles, a couple things on the sound wall, and then after that, they'll open it up.
Will there be a barrier to the west?
To the west,
Where the sidewalk is, will there be an actual barrier for that cliff?
to go down to the gully?
Yeah,
No.
no barrier there. And then will they repair the broken dangerous fence on the exit off of 89?
Yeah, when people quit sliding through it.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Where's that?
The deadly curve, I like to name it.
The one, my car went clear down the bottom. It's fine.
I believe there's been a couple of them go out there.
But they just gotta slow down.
Do they just have to be fished out?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
That's- yeah.
Brandon, Green, do you have anything to report? Well, that concludes our agenda. I would entertain a motion to
I
adjourn.
second that motion.
I have a motion from Eileen and a second from Diane. All in favor of approving? All in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Next meeting is when? Next meeting is when?
First of next month.
Well-
First Tuesday of next month, which is 7th.
February 7th, thank you.